everybody. In Houston, I'm John Herder. It's Tuesday, the 26th day of January. Great as always to have you along, everybody. In a nutshell, From the Expert Show is a compressed virtual networking accelerator, helping people across industries connect very quickly in a brief, moderated, interactive show format. So, what's in it for you? Well, the FTE promise, if all goes well, your curiosity is sparked, new ideas have come to light, and you may have helped yourself and others in this network solve a problem or reach their opportunity faster. Networking has never been more important to your business. Do yourselves a favor, turn on your screen and make sure your full name is in on that, because studies show that we're all more connected when we can actually see each other. Today's show is going to trigger some ideas and questions, so be sure and share them with the group in the chat box. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Miguel Calatayud, to the FTE Network. Welcome, Miguel. So Miguel is a seasoned leader and social entrepreneur in the plant-based food and nutrition industry. CEO of algae-based nutrition companies Iwi and Qualitas Health, his team is doing some pretty amazing things, disruptive things, to help feed our growing population in a resource-constrained planet. But of course, there are challenges along the way that have to be innovated around to find working solutions. And that's what we're asking Miguel, as he tells a story, to unpack a little of that with us today on the show. Miguel, thanks again for making time. I'll turn the floor over to you now.
Thank you very much, John, for inviting me here. Really appreciate it, and thank you everybody for joining us today. So as John said, my name is Miguel. I've been in the food industry for over 22 years. I used to grow a lot of vegetables, like 700 million pounds of vegetables a year. So a lot of vegetables in the frozen food industry and then in different industries touching proteins, but mainly food related. And since 2016, leading a beautiful, wonderful project, which is also plant related, but with a very special and very interesting plant. Is the most productive plant I've ever seen in planet Earth. It's called Nannochloropsis, and it's a microscopic algae that we grow in deserts. We are growing it in the desert of Texas and New Mexico. We have two big farms in order to produce some amazing products. I would love to share with you a presentation, and maybe we can take it from there. So one of the challenges that we all have is, why are we doing what we do? And our company has a clear purpose. This is something I wrote on a breakfast bill a few years ago. And our purpose is, together we create sustainable food solutions for everyone and our planet. And it's very important, because what we do is we create food and nutrients not for vegan people, but for everybody, including vegan people. And that is very important, because what we are creating are products that beat or exceeds the expectations of general consumers, and that's the way to go. You've probably seen this somewhere else. We are today about 7.8 billion people, and we are moving to 10 billion people. And the big question is, how are we going to feed all those people? And the answer is doing more with less, but also using resources that otherwise would not be utilized. And this is what we do. We have a very unique technology. We have a proprietary technology. We are the only ones who can produce these products. We grow a unique algae using non-arable land, salt water, and the sun as main source of energy. We consume CO2 and we release oxygen. We are creating jobs in the middle of rural areas. And as I normally say, we are proud because we are democratizing farming, as we can bring farming to places in the world where they could not even dream about it. We can create jobs while creating an amazing company, right? Just to give you an example, one of the main challenges we have on this journey to go from 7.8 billion people to 10 billion people is, do we have enough arable land? And that's a big question. And in my previous life, that was one of the things we had to do. We needed to find more and more acres to keep growing the business. And just to give you an idea, and everybody talks about peas and beef, and in an acre of land, and I'm breaking down the protein into essential amino acids to be able to compare apples with apples, right? In an acre of land, you can grow about 20 pounds of essential amino acids per acre per year from peas. You can grow about 71 pounds of essential amino acids per acre per year from beef. We produce 6,000. That's really a breakthrough already. But it's even more important when I tell you that we are not competing with other crops, like the ones I've been growing all my life, because we don't need the land. We just use the land as a placeholder. We don't need the land to grow vegetables, right? So that's really interesting, because our solution is not instead of other conventional solutions. Our solution is in addition to conventional crops. And when we go to the other side, it is the freshwater consumption, which really is the main concern we have. In my opinion, the Third World War will be around water. And as you can see, many people are taking positions on aquifers all over the world, because that's a big question, right? Do we have enough water? And the answer is no, by the way. If we continue with the same supply chain that we currently have today, there will not be enough water to feed 10 billion people. So what are we going to do differently, right? And in our case, our technology allows us to produce a significant amount of food and nutrients using non-arable land and using salt water. So in an acre, in order to produce 1 pound of essential amino acids from peas, just to follow with the example we saw before, you need about 9,000 gallons of fresh water in order to produce 1 pound of essential amino acids. In order to produce 1 pound of essential amino acids from beef, you need about 17,000 gallons of fresh water, which is a lot. But look at almonds. Many people talk about almond as a solution. Actually, in terms of water, they require a lot of water in order to produce protein. What we do with this, we are getting products that are unbelievable. We have the most bioavailable omega-3 in the planet. It is plant-based, and it's sustainable. But the best thing I can say about our omega-3 is that it is the best in the market. We are the only ones in a polar lipid form with a very high absorption, and we have a patent on that until 2033. And then we also grow protein. But in addition to that, we've done a lot of clinical studies, and we have amazing results showing a significant decrease in total cholesterol, a significant decrease on VLDL, which is one of the bad cholesterols. And this is 120 people, double-blind placebo, done by a third-party CRO in Australia. So we are investing heavily in science and clinical studies in order to prove our technology. And once you remove the oil, what is left? It is pure protein. And our protein is very unique. And as I mentioned before, we have I've been involved in the protein world for forever. And you have plant-based proteins, which is the new boom right now, and the animal proteins. The main challenge plant-based proteins have is that they normally don't have all the essential amino acids. And the ones they have, not always are at the level that the FAO recommends. In our case, we do have all the essential amino acids, and we have more total essential amino acids than egg and whey. And by the way, each of our essential amino acids meet or exceed the FAO requirements. So we are not just another protein, we are on the top of the food chain. We are even more than egg and whey. So this is really a revolution. So coming from a sustainable project, creating plant-based products and helping rural communities, which is great by itself, we are able to just generate the most efficient and most complex protein we've ever seen in the market, and we will be launching next year, and the best omega-3 which is in the market. So we are super excited because we are combining a great value proposition with a beautiful novel cause, right? Huge business, huge opportunity in the world, especially on the plant-based protein, which is a great thing for us as a business. And just as a quick summary, we have a very unique technology. We have all the blessings, FDA, we have patents, we have clinical studies supporting us. We have an amazing online business, which is growing exponentially month over month. And we are present in the main retailers in the United States. And hopefully we'll get this year to Australia, India, and other countries. We have a partnership because we want to give back. And we have a partnership with an organization called Ocean Unite. Their goal is to go from 3% of the ocean protected to 30% of the ocean protected by 2030. And we decided that that is a cause that we want to support because it's a very transparent organization. Is led by Karen Shack, which is a very well-known executive and activist, but very, very professionally. And we are donating 1% of our net sales to that organization. We are also we are bringing a revolution to the packaging. One of the challenges that our customers were asking us is, hey, all your packaging is plastic, it's half empty, what do you do? And when we listen to your customers, we came with solutions which are amazing, all paper, sustainable, so it's beautiful. We are selling all these products, but now we are going to start launching bars and smoothies and many other things, food related, more than supplement related. One thing that I've been working for many years lately is on adult nutrition, sports nutrition, and personalized nutrition. And with our unique protein, we are going to start creating functional products that not just will provide you with the food and the protein you need, but also will give you the nutrients you need. So instead of having soft gel, you will be able to properly feed your body with our products. So this is a very quick overview. We are now expanding internationally, and after that, I would like to open the floor for questions, if that's okay.
Absolutely. So I've got the first one that popped up, Miguel. It says, what's the source or the salt water and how much is used per pound of product?
That's a very good question. So the source of water we have, this is very interesting. Most deserts in the world are full of water. The challenge is that water is high salinity and high minerality, which cannot be used for any other purpose. In this case, both we are in the Permian area in Texas, close to Amarillo, close to Midland. There's a huge aquifer. And then in New Mexico, we are in Columbus, New Mexico. We have another farm and there's another big aquifer. So first of all, we use water that otherwise would not be utilized for any purpose. But because sustainability is a big thing, and our goal is to leave the land we use as close to as we found it, we have a technology that allows us to use and reuse the water we harvest over 98%. So we just keep harvesting and reusing it over and over and over again. And the only water we use is the evaporation water. But we are not taking the water with us. We are just reusing that water over and over again.
Okay, so we've got another one coming.
Just keep adding the water we lose on the evaporation, right?
Question on your product. Does it contain all the nutrients, amino acids that a person actually needs?
So the protein, yes. And our protein is the most complex protein I've ever seen. We are really fascinated. We didn't expect our protein to be that way, but it's kind of like a gift. It's really amazing. And we just recently got a new round, and we are now going to grow dramatically on the protein side. We are now scaling we are doing some pilot plans, and we are industrializing our process, and we are doing some pilot plans with a couple of partners in order to take our protein and our protein products to market early 2022.
Thanks. Hey, Susan Paulus, would you mind just turning on your speaker and asking your question?
Hi, I'm just curious if this is a fermented algae product.
That's a very good question. So most algae products that are in the market, especially all the other omega-3s, are coming from fermentation. And it's not good or bad, it's a different process. What they do is they take algae, they just put it in a vat, they add sugar and they add temperature, so a lot of energy. And then what they do is they ferment, and then they take omega-3 or other products. In our case, again, I don't know if you heard, but I've been a farmer all my life at the big scale. And what we do is we farm. We have open ponds. So we just have open raceways and we grow algae in those raceways. So we don't use fermentation. It is just natural growth. And that's why we have chlorophyll, because we do photosynthesis in so we grow this different technology by like a regular vegetable. That's why it's super exciting. And that's why the products we are getting out of it, nobody else have them, because it's very unique. And nobody, by the way, nobody has been able to grow nanochloropsis at a scale successfully so far.
So you have chlorophyll in your product, whereas the fermented algae probably does not have chlorophyll. Is that correct?
Yes, so yes, that's correct. So because in order to do chlorophyll, you need to grow and you need the sun, right? So you need to do photosynthesis, and the photosynthesis is what is produced in the chlorophyll. So you need that. You either do it in open ponds, as we do. Some people do photobioreactors, but it's difficult to scale, at least at the scale we are. We are at a massive scale. Just to give you a perspective, I mean, I used to grow a lot of peas. I used to grow about 120, 140 million pounds of peas per year. So I know peas a little bit. Our 150 acres equals to 45,000 acres of peas in terms of production of essential amino acids. So it's really a breakthrough.
So we have Omar. Omar, would you just ask your question, please?
Yeah, sure. So Miguel, I noticed the yield in amino acids you had was the highest compared to other sources. It was, I think, close to 6,000. So are there any limitations that you can actually tweak or modify to even take it beyond that?
The answer is always yes, right? By the way, it's already at a very high level. Using fermentation, some people, it's a different technology, right? And you don't measure per acre. So you can, using fermentation, you can push productivity a lot. So you could get other technologies, but it's a different algae and you will not get the same type of protein we have, right? In our case, what we are working on is we continue. So we have two farms, and one of them, we use it basically for R&D. And we are we've chosen not to use a GMO algae, not because we believe it's good or bad, but because our consumers are asking us not to use GMO. And I always, follow what our consumers tell us. And in this particular case, we have a strain which is a common strain. What we've done differently from anybody else is, to put it in easy terms, we've taken our strain to the gym. We are feeding with very healthy food. So we have a very strong and very healthy and very productive strain, if I may, without modifying it genetically. Does it make sense?
Yeah, thanks, Miguel.
Thank you, Mark.
So one of our colleagues, Dr. Stone Zhang, who's an entrepreneur between here and China, he's asking, what are the regulatory requirements or processes to sell your product into the Chinese market? And how long does it take to get approval? And I think that was one of the areas we talked about, Miguel, earlier on the phone.
Yeah, actually, that is a very good question. And that is one of the challenges in general. It's one of the beauties, by the way, and one of the challenges. So one of the challenges when you are innovating, especially in food and nutrition, are the regulatory processes. So it's not that we just go and we get clear by the FDA and we are good to go everywhere. No, we spend a significant amount of money. We talk about between $800,000 and $2 million to just get the approval in Europe, to get the approval by the FDA. We have to do the same thing in Australia. Australia, the TGA, hopefully will get the approval in a couple of months. But it has taken us over 3 years, actually 4 years. So it's a very tedious process. And that is one of the entry barriers in different markets. And this is one of the challenges also for expansion. So China is in particular, is very strict. There are different companies and there are different ways to enter in China. But the regulatory process in China for a new ingredient like ours, it is going to take similar to the FDA or the or the USDA or the TGA. So it's going to take a significant amount of money and at least 1 year.
Got it. Okay, so then, thinking technology, we've got Matt who's asking about the infrastructure, your farming setup. Is that something he's asking that you would or could move to the sea? Is that beneficial for you?
So also very good question. And the answer is you can do whatever you want, but there's people growing macroalgae in the ocean. It would be impossible to grow microalgae in the ocean. First of all, because it would get lost, right? You cannot contain. So in the end, that would be very difficult. But you could have your farm next to the ocean, right? The challenge there is that the water from the ocean contains thousands of other algae that will be competing with your algae. It contains other microorganisms that we don't know what they might do to and it changes every day. So it's difficult to control your water source. And then you have heavy metals potentially, depending on the area where you are. So it's more difficult to control the source. In our case, we chose deserts. First of all, because we are insulated from any other crop. We have the sun we need because the sun is a very important thing for our photosynthesis to grow as many months as possible. But also because the source of water is controlled. Those aquifers have been there for hundreds of thousands of years. They have high salinity and high minerality, but they are always the same. They are super clean, really good. So we know, by the way, we keep analyzing the water every day because that is one of the inputs in food safety for us is priority number one. But we control the source and we minimize the challenges from other species. By the way, we have challenges because there are other algae flying in the air, there are other algae coming in the soil, and there are other bacteria and microorganisms, like same thing as when you are growing broccoli or you are growing peas or you are growing any other vegetable. So it's no different from any other vegetable. What we do is we don't use any pesticides. We use just conventional products to like fertilizers to feed the algae like another, but we don't use any pesticides. So for us, it's critical to make the algae as strong as possible for it to outgrow any other competitor. And then we have some techniques to fight potential, bacteria or presence or anything. And then the key we have is we have a very unique harvesting, and you were talking about the technology. We have a very unique technology. We do microfiltration. Our algae is smaller than bacteria, by the way. So it's really, that's called nanochloropsis. It's extremely small and extremely beautiful, by the way. And so in our technology, it's also cleaning process. Actually, the water, once we harvest it, regardless of the water you take, you can drink that water. It will be salty because it's salt water, but you can drink that water because we really purify that. It's a technology that you use in any water treatment plant, but in some cases taken to steroids.
Miguel, we've got just a couple more minutes. So I'm thinking about, we've got a diverse audience here, from CEOs to companies that are in digital marketing to oil and gas to chemicals to food and beverage. Is there anything on your mind that, these folks are maybe potential channels or certainly clients? I mean, anything you want to ask?
So for sure. So what, I'm always looking for collaboration opportunities. That is number one. As I always say, I'm married. I have 2 kids. I will never be right again in my life. I just want to be successful. And in order to do that, sometimes you need to partner with other people in order to go faster, and not, if someone has gone to a certain level, why do you need to use resources to get there? Just find partnerships. So we have different opportunities I'm always looking for technologies that can help us be more efficient on the harvesting side or on the feeding side. I'm certainly looking for cheap CO2. So one of the main problems, everybody talks about CO2 and they don't know what to do with the CO2. Just bring it to me. I mean, my main cost is CO2. I buy trucks every week of CO2, and it's the most expensive input that I have in order to feed our algae. So we feed our algae with CO2 and we release oxygen. So we are doing an amazing service to the world. I mean, Elon Musk just released $100 million prize for someone who talks about carbon capture. We have the most efficient carbon capture technology in the planet, because at the same time it's producing food, right? So that's a very exciting thing. So any collaboration on the CO2 business, especially people on the oil and gas and chemical industries, or technology is help. And the second aspect, which is very important, it is the customer aspect, right? In our case, we believe that our approach is completely different from other companies, that they have a technology, they have a product, and then they try to sell. We have a technology, but our technology is just a platform. And with that platform, we try to understand what the customer needs are, and we create products that beat or exceeds whatever is available for those needs. And in that particular case, any collaboration on enzymatic process, or in order to make things even more bioavailable, I'm completely open. So again, we are a very transparent and open company who always is looking for collaborations. I'm always looking to meet people who are smarter than I am, which is very easy, by the way. So if anybody have something that you believe it can contribute to our business, I would be super happy to hear about it.
I've got several oil and gas guys that in the chat saying they've got CO2 they want to sell to you. So I think maybe they'll contact you later.
I like the $0 price. It's an amazing starting point for the discussion, and then let's take it from there.
Hey, one last thing, and then we'll move to the next session. This is a little bit about the marketplace. A lot of protein products out there. How do you compete? Is it based on cost? Certain markets would you be more competitive in? Can you lay the landscape for us a little bit there?
So that's a very good question. So we are not another protein, and that's why I'm excited about this. What we are bringing to market, it's a completely different protein that doesn't exist in terms of functionality. So it's a protein that has all the essential amino. The gold standards in protein are egg and whey. In our case, we have more total essential amino acids than egg and whey. And one thing which is something very unique that no other plant-based protein have, we have what is called branch chain amino acids. And we have more branch chain amino acids than egg and whey. It's what we use to build muscle. So our protein is not going to be a competition to pea protein or to soy protein or to whey or to egg. Our protein is allowing us to focus on sports nutrition, adult nutrition, and personalized nutrition. So that's very important. And the second aspect is it has very unique properties, organoleptic properties. Like pea protein and other proteins are not soluble in water. Our protein is very soluble in water. So in addition to bars, which is easy to mask any protein, we can do drinks, and that tastes good, is extremely soluble, and because of that is also the high bioavailability. So we have a very exciting protein, and we are not going to compete with commodities out there. We have a very specific plan for that protein. Again, repeat, focus on adult nutrition, personalized nutrition, and sports nutrition.
Okay, thanks, Miguel. So we've got a few more questions, but I think what we'll do, the great thing about this is we can capture them, and I'll follow up with you, Miguel. We've got also several people that would like to connect. But what I'd like to do now is thank you once again for sharing this amazing journey. And it was really cool sharing a little bit of that with you and where you are now. I'd like to roll over to what we call the leads and needs, or the group networking session. So the question for the networking group here is, how can FTE help your business? We have to ask each other. So you've got to show, each show our members meet up here, and we experiment with new ways to help you engage and interact with each other. Because what we know is more trust in the group promotes richer, stronger networking, accelerates connections, getting you to the opportunity faster. Well, you get it. Well, today, our roundtable question for the group is, how will the Biden administration actually impact your business? What are you thinking? So in a few words, tell us what your business is, your priorities today, and reflect on how might the Biden administration impact your business. It's a good time to share what ask you have with the group. Do I have any volunteers out there that'd like to get us started?
Yeah, John, I probably can get you started, at least from the NASA side and what we're expecting. I've been fortunate enough to work at Johnson Space Center since the Bush Senior administration. We've seen a couple of administration changes. And for us, the names of some projects may change, but the budget pretty much is the same. It pretty much is year to year. And so we don't really expect that much in changes. Administrator will change, which actually Bridenstine was a pretty good administrator, and we'll see what the new one does. But I think from the direction of the big projects that we're doing, Orion Space Launch System and the deep space goals, I don't expect them to change that much.
Okay, cool, thanks. Sarah, you out there? What's on your mind?
Yes, I'm here. So I'm Sarah Delil. I work for Equinor, which is the Norwegian energy company. When it comes to how the Biden administration going to impact Equinor, I think we are still trying to assess it. Equinor is already in a green transition, so if the Biden administration encourages the green transition, that means we will just go faster. And as you know, in the US, we are building a big project, big wind energy projects, so we will probably go faster or even more projects there. When it comes to oil and gas, this is really the big question mark, what the impact will be. We are still an oil and gas company in addition to other sources of energy, so we'll just have to wait and see how the impact will be. But that is where we are not 100% sure how the impact will be for us in the US, especially.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Regan Rodriguez. Is it okay for me to, I didn't know if I interrupted or.
Right on, go right on, Reagan.
Yeah, what my business is in is we collect plastic from the ocean and convert it into sustainable housing. So to give you guys an idea of how much we recycle, each of our Worthy domes recycles 15 bottles per square foot. So I guess if you were to build 1,000 square foot dome, it would recycle 15,000 bottles. I just share that because, John, you had mentioned how we can all benefit from this group that you've put together with from the experts. So if anyone would like to network, or if you feel that your business might be synergistic, or you think that it would be to your benefit to connect, then feel free to email me. I'm at reagan@worthydomes.com. To answer the question, though, which is a really good question, and I was thinking about it actually this weekend, and the answer is I think that we all need to be actionary in our business, so that way we're not concentrating on being reactionary to the government. Of course, we all know that the interplay in energy, which is it's unlikely to change. Let's be honest. However, it's our ability to create impact is our action. So what is our action-driven focus for 2021? The reason I share that is I had a Zoom just 2 hours ago from an organization that works with the homeless. And they asked me that very same question. So I thought it was very appropriate. And what I told them is, let's not forget that taking action and for them to continue to talk with people that want to make donations is the key, not to just sit back and think, now that Biden is president, there's going to be grants given to people like us.
Got it. Thanks, Reagan. So let's move from there. What about venture capital, private equity? Thomas, you still with us? What's your take?
Yeah, Thomas Henry from Unique Ventures, hybrid energy accelerator based in Houston, soon to be opening up in Canada. We look at innovation from the entire spectrum, the energy spectrum. Initially, it was comprised of working for the alliance partners. Actually, Equinor is one of them. We have Hess and Technip FMC as our partners. Now, what we see from the so-called, I don't want to talk about the investment, area, because they go wherever there's money to be made, correct? But if you take a look at just the energy industry in general, whether it's an OEM type company or a pure E&P type company, you're going to see with the new Biden administration that increased emphasis on ESG type activities. I think that's the starting point, correct? That's easy emission reduction. If you take a look at emission reduction as a value chain, then you got everything from digital solutions to hard science, where you're using green materials and improving your manufacturing type capacity, maybe using hydrogen as a source of fuel, including carbon capture. So that whole ESG value chain, can be dissected in so many different ways. So we see increased emphasis in reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, much more efficient use of water technology. That has already been kind of a strong point from previous years, but increased emphasis in that.
Anything that you're looking for in particular right now, Thomas?
What do you call it? I would advise going to the website, but the main thing is what we have done is from last year. I mean, there is continuity from last year. We had 6 areas where we look for technologies, and the first 3 areas are typical E&P type technologies, but you cannot say that it's typical E&P, because when we take a look at digital footprint, correct, or digital technologies, now we see startups coming up with the line that we are reducing carbon footprint. So everything from digital technologies to what we talk about carbon sequestration or CCUS and hydrogen technology.
Got it. Thanks. Well, let's switch from that. Hey, Hogan, why don't you talk, since we were talking digital, why don't we move to the marketing side of things and tell us a little bit about what you're seeing.
Well, we're not real sure. So Jeff Hogan, CEO of 360 Connect. We help companies find new customers using digital marketing. And we're sort of bracing. We're not really sure what's coming. Of course, they're all talking about Section 230 and how they're going to start regulating the internet. And the big companies have tons of lawyers. They can afford to hire people to defend themselves if they do pull away 230. But the smaller companies don't. So it's going to be tough if they try and change it and just outright appeal it. If they change it to something smarter, then we'll be in good shape. But many companies rely on these big social media companies for their customers. So it's going to be watched very closely by those of us to see what's going to happen. Not sure, but more broadly speaking, not being in an environmentally oriented or oil and gas or anything like that, just regular old business that has offices and things like that, we're not looking forward to heavier regulations and it's been kind of a hiatus for 4 years. We used to have to hire 2 or 3 people just to keep up with the stuff that was thrown at us. And now it's been kind of quiet, right? We just can focus on growing and focus on training our teams. So the Obama administration, we think, is going to make life harder on us and not necessarily improve life just from a business operation standpoint. In terms of digital marketing, we're bracing. Every time they think they're changing something for the good, it's like the mortgage documents at the end of signing a mortgage is 3 inches high, and it's not different from when it was 2 inches or 1 inch high. So not real sure what's coming, but we believe there will be change.
Cool.
Hey,
Tim?
John, can I ask a question of Jeff?
Go for it.
Yeah, I'm curious what your take is on people switching from different social media platforms. Now, it seems like people are leaving Twitter and Facebook in droves for alternatives. How does that affect you?
We just kind of go where the eyeballs are. I mean, we go where there's targeted audiences, where we can find customers for our customers. So we go wherever. We're platform agnostic. So, it's all a question of scope and scale. Just like any relationship, the more customers, the more traffic, more benefit you can get out of it, the better, because it's fewer relationships to manage. But if an audience is targeted enough and it's attractive to our customers, then that's our job. We'll go find them, even if we have to segment. In some ways, we would prefer more segmentation. Google makes life very hard by obfuscating the details of what's happening behind the scenes. 10 years ago, they told you everything, and now they're getting closer and closer to telling you nothing. They're black boxing their service. So in some ways, competition is really good. It doesn't hurt our feelings to have some competitors to Google, even though they're one of our largest suppliers.
10 points for obfuscating. 10 points. Anybody else? We've got maybe time for just one more, and then we're going to move on. Okay, well, it sounds like that was the last word. So if you want more of this, be sure to join our next show on February 9th. That's going to be fully dedicated to B2B networking with industry breakouts. Now, a word from the FTE underwriters. Like your competitors, your firm is looking for smart places to spend marketing trade show dollars, just like Hogan Dom said. You need to increase your online presence with targeted decision makers and influencers. Well, FTE is now offering our industry underwriter program. Each industry vertical will have only 3 slots. It's truly a limited and unique virtual channel to the market. If you're interested in learning more, talk to me. So how are we doing? Please click on the survey link that's coming into the chat box now. 60 seconds or less, your ideas and feedback are critical to make the show better and better. And FTE, of course, belongs to you, the members. It's your networking platform, so why not share the opportunity with those that you want to connect with? It's easy. Just forward the FTE email or click on Invite Connections on the LinkedIn event page. Super simple. If you want to go deeper, join our Slack channel, and you can continue the conversation with anybody on this call or other folks that are already in the network. And if you haven't, please make sure, go ahead and finish that survey now. Well, folks, we are out of time. Our next show, 2 weeks, February 9th, B2B Roundtable. You don't want to miss it. So sign up right now on our website, fte.network. Miguel, thank you once again. Really enjoyed the conversation, made us think, got new ideas, some new connections. We'll follow up with what's come across the board. And I want to thank each and every one of you allowing FTE Show to make this the smartest 45 minutes of your day. That's the end of the show. I wish all of you a peaceful, joyful speed to your next opportunity. So take care. We'll see you next time.